Hello everyone, and in the last video, if you remember, we discussed what is Docker for beginners and how to use it. So I think it's just a natural continuation of this topic to jump into a slightly deeper end of the thing. And what is really important right now in pretty much any industry and is quite often a requirement for many jobs is Kubernetes. And what I wanted to discuss today is how to learn what is Kubernetes, how to really understand how to use it, and grow comfortable with it and using it. And yeah, the usual way to do it to get comfortable with something is, at least for me personally, is to get your hands dirty. And that's what we are going to do today. And that's what I want you to focus on when you're trying to learn a new tool or a new technology. Just start using it and get it under your fingertips, pretty much, and get it as get used to the system as much as possible. All right, with that being said, let's have a quick step back and start from the very beginning. So, what is Kubernetes in general? And Kubernetes, it is, you probably already know it, but it is quite often abbreviated as K8S, Kubernetes. And it is basically a platform that is designed to manage all of your containers and things that you can run as a container, but in a bigger scale, and it just manages all of the deployments and scaling of those containers and things pretty much without your interference. But the requirement for this is to first set it all up, and that's where the main difficulty actually comes. So first of all, you need to understand what it can do for you, and for that you can just read the documentation about the Kubernetes. And secondly, it is to implement those features and functionality for your specific use case and make it running. But quite often there is a question how to do it, and the best answer to do that is to actually try and run it locally. And that would be exactly the topic of this video. So we are going to use Minikube to run it. What is Minikube, you may ask? And Minikube is pretty much a local Kubernetes environment that runs the full stack of that Kubernetes on a virtual machine or on a container. And that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'm using my Docker as a host system for this. And yeah, obviously there are different alternatives to the Minikube, and you can pick something else like K3S or K0S or Micro Kubernetes. So there are plenty of options, but my preference and my personal favorite is Minikube, especially for local development and just to showcase different things. It might not be as fast as others, but that's the topic of a different video, and I might create a short or something like that where I would just highlight what are the pros and cons so you can choose what works for you. But for this one, let's dive into the actual, well, not necessarily code, because in this video we are going to use terminal quite a lot, but how you can install it, it's quite simple. It's pretty much Docker install Minikube, and voila, if you run something like that, you will get Minikube installed and available. I already done this quite a while ago, and now if I run Minikube just by itself as a CLI command, I will get an output similar to this one, where it just shows what are the basic commands to run it, what are the other options that we can use. And to give you a little bit more of a context, what we are going to use or what we can do is it is possible to run Minikube dashboard, and that will start a new dashboard for Minikube, which will display a lot of things. So let me open this URL that was copy pasted, and you will see a similar picture if you do that by yourself. these different things. So you will have a section for workloads, you will sections for services, configs, cluster management, and so on and so forth. And on top of that, we are still in the default namespace, and there are different namespaces available. You can manage your things in Kubernetes by namespaces, and that is quite convenient to have them separated. But maybe as a quick note before we go too much further, what are the key concepts of the Kubernetes? And those would be the containers, first of all, and that was mostly the topic of my previous video, as I said before. It is a way to package the software into the image and then run it as a container, so with all of the dependencies and code and libraries all in a single place. Then there is a sequencing, and it is probably the most important part of the Kubernetes itself, and that is pods. This one, yeah. As you can see right now, there is nothing to display, but it is the smallest deployable unit in Kubernetes. And usually it is held in a single container, but it can hold more than one as well. Now, the next thing that needs to be said about that thing, that means the Kubernetes is nodes, and those are the actual machines, physical machines or virtual machines or Docker container in my case that can host the Kubernetes itself, and those nodes, they may be more than one, they will spread those pods that will run the actual application between different machines. So that's the way how to load balance and how to control what will be executed and what will be the resources available, actual resources available for your applications to consume. Now, the cluster itself, it's a bigger scale, and that is everything that we have over here. And the cluster is pretty much a group of nodes that is managed by the Kubernetes as an application or as a platform. That's why it is usually called Kubernetes cluster or Kubernetes service in cloud terms quite often, but it is basically a wrapper across all of those nodes, so it can manage the nodes and can manage pods that are distributed between nodes, and it can manage all of the containers that are running on those pods. So it's like a rhyme or child's song. Anyway, after that, you have two more things that are important to know. And the first of them is deployments from the Kubernetes perspective. And once again, I will be clicking on this screen, but I don't have anything running yet over here. And the deployment, it is a definition of how many copies of the application, and by application there you can have more than one thing inside of the application. So it can be a pod, it can be a service with secrets and configurations and so on. But the deployment nicely wraps everything into a single unit of how you want to manage it. So it simplifies the whole management of your system across Kubernetes. And finally, as I said, the last thing is services. And they provide networking endpoints for pods, and you can think of them as URLs or the IPs that stay the same, even the pod will change. So it is possible to have auto healing and scaling, obviously, for Kubernetes, and no matter what are the underlying connections, the services will provide the ingress or the egress of network traffic for your application. With that being said, quite often, once again, as I said, that to use Kubernetes and to run it, what you will be using, or the preferred way to do it, is to use kubectl as a command line tool. And this tool can do everything for the Kubernetes. It can manage it, and there are a lot of different commands and options that you can use. But in this video, we are not going to use it. Let's keep the terminal voodoo magic a little bit separate for now, and try to focus on the core concepts of what is possible to do instead of this one. But just be aware that it is possible to get pretty much what we have on the screen right now over here through kubectl as a Of course, I just need to learn how to type. Uh, and as you can see, maybe with comments because it is open. What I have opened over here, so there is nothing really available. So let's change it. And the way how you can use Kubernetes is two ways. As I said, that one of them is to use kubectl, and you can call it an imperative way, where you can just run a command against the cluster, and the cluster will do what you said. But another thing, and actually what is happening behind the scene anyway, for the Kubernetes is that everything is managed and saved as YAML, our lovely DevOps language of choice, even more important than English, even probably, even though a lot of things in YAML are in English. And what you can do with the dashboard is actually it is possible to create resources as well over here. And just keep in mind that this is only a dev or local environment, and it is used for testing purposes. And when you are going to work with real production ready clusters, then most likely all of that stuff would be handled by Terraform, I hope, or any other way of scripting and infrastructure as code approach that you will use. And this one is just an example of what can be done just to have an indicator. So we can upload the whole YAML file as a content over here, or it is possible to create it from file. And when we upload, we will see that it will create something. And that something is described with this YAML. And you can see that I have those dash 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 as a separator, and there are two resources that will be created. And the first one is a pod. So I will have a single container that will be running something, and that container is Nginx latest, just for testing purposes to see some sort of a result. And the second thing that we need to do is to expose this pod to the outside world, because without it, it just sitting over there inside the Kubernetes cluster nicely on one of the on a single node, and just enjoying its life without any traffic coming in or going out. To change that, we can create a service, and to be more specific, a node port that will expose a port 80 of the application that is called Nginx. And that application Nginx, it is a label that is assigned to this pod. So based on the label, and there might be more than one pod because of that, it will find the correct pod to route the traffic and expose this port. So port 80 would be available for the outside world. Still, there is one more thing, because we don't have it is running as a minikube, so there need to be one additional thing to do, and that thing is that minikube needs to expose this URL, and that can be done with another command, but now it will be from the minikube. So we are going to tell minikube to find a service that is called Nginx SVC. So exactly as we have put a name over here, and we want to have a URL for this one. When we run this command, it will hopefully find us a correct URL. So the actual pod that we will need to hit would be 61,236 instead of 80, of course. And this node is important because I'm running it as a Docker. So this terminal needs to keep open, or this would be available. And now if we hit this URL, we will see the welcome to Nginx page, the default page of the Nginx image. So everything is working. Yay! Good job. But what you can see from here on top of that is that we are actually created a pod that is called Nginx pod, exactly as it is described in here, and then it is running for 2 minutes, which is nice. And then we have a service which is a Nginx SPC, which is a node port, and it has some internal cluster IP, so this IP is not available from the outside world, outside of this cluster. That's why we had to run the minikube service expose command, and yeah, it is running as well. what we can do on top of that, and then you cancel this one, and after this is cancelled, this page no longer responsive. It is loading, as you can see. But what we can do now is, if we would run kubectl get pods, we will see that we have that pod up and running from the command line tool as well. So everything is connected and everything is actually relying back to the original. That was probably the gist of my video. So thank you for watching, and please like or especially subscribe to my channel. That is very important for me. And the last thing that you will need to do is to clean up after ourselves. So we don't really need to run that pod for too long. So it is possible to run kubectl delete pod and then whatever is the name of this pod, and it will be deleted like so. Or alternatively, it is possible to delete stuff from this dashboard in a UI way, so real admins would not approve of this, but it is possible to just click on those dots and delete, and you'll have a lovely hint that it is actually an equivalent of this kubectl command, and it will be deleted that way too. And yeah, let me just repeat the start of this video. The best way to learn something, including Kubernetes, is to start using it and start trying things, first of all locally, and then just expand your horizon and what you dare to try. Locally, you can do whatever. It will cost you nothing, but it will be a lot of fun and a lot of experience. And then just do stuff. That's the way to get your hands dirty and get this experience and that knowledge and confidence. So, hope this was helpful and useful. See you soon.